Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial for JcInventory. This is carrying on from another video where we created some boots and we made them equipable. So let's just have another look. The link should be on screen if you wanted to catch up on that. What we plan to implement today is a way to collect all the values from the item attributes that are equipped at any time, add them together, have a result, and have it affect the character. So an example of this would be in RPGs where, you know, you've got the Rod of Pergamon and it adds +2 intelligence, and you have a base class where you have, say, 10 intelligence, and you put this staff on and suddenly you have 12. Or the exact same kind of system for an encumbrance system. There we go. Where, you know, all the weight is calculated that the character is wearing, and he's going to move slower or faster depending on what he's wearing. And that's what we're going to do today, because the weight and the value of the items is already set up in the attributes section. So we're also going to be touching base with attributes and what makes them special. So let's begin. This might be a little bit of a longer tutorial, so maybe go grab a coffee. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to essentially handle what happens when we put on, you know, some sort of item. So to do that, we're going to start off with, in demo content, we've got the JcInventory character. And here we have the code that would equip the weapon. And the way that works, just to break into it quickly, is that, you know, we set this on the server, but it replicates to the clients. And when that's replicated, we set the equipped gun, if he has a gun or he hasn't, and it's very simple script. Obviously, the player only has one gun, it's his blue hands, and he fires the yellow projectile. That's all there is in the demo content, but that could obviously be more advanced. And if you are using a system like Shooter Game, or maybe you've looked at Tom Lumen's fantastic C++ survival series, where the actual weapons and items are actors that get attached to sockets onto the player. You could actually specify what item class you wanted to spawn and attach to the player in the attributes of the item, and then it would sync into one of those systems quite nicely and work very well. But let's just have a look at this code, and you'll see how simple it is. All we do is we make the first person hands visible, you know, and we set this bool, you know, gun is equipped, and then if the gun is equipped, we're allowed to fire. Very, very simple. So let's make some more advanced functions. I'm going to make a quick function here, and I'm going to call it calc weight. Okay. And all we're going to do is we're going to grab our inventory, and we're going to get the equipment slots. This is the array of items that are currently on the player. Not in their backpack, but on them, as in, you know, the helmet on their head, or you know, their fine leather cowboy boots, for instance. And we can use a for each loop to go through that, and let's just have a look at what that contains. Okay, so when we break it down, we can grab the slot name, the slot type, and what item is currently in there. And that's fantastic because, you know, you might need that information. In the code just before we were setting the gun, we were actually doing, you know, something like equals enum primary. So we're only looking at the primary, or, you know, we can set up a switch, and, you know, you can separate your logic in these ways. But for now, we don't need to worry about that. What we're actually only going to worry about is we're going to grab the item, and what do we need? Well, we need the weight. So if we were using plus intelligence or plus strength, you'd actually have to create that in the attributes, and the way you would do that is by opening up structs in the root file, which is where all the structs and data handlers are, and you would find JC item attributes, and you would, add a probably an integer for some sort of character attribute called intelligence or strength. But we are going to use what's there for now, and we're going to use the weight, which is a float. So I can, and I've got some helper functions. So I personally don't think brakes look fantastic. And the reason for that is in earlier versions of Unreal, when you did change a blueprint struct, God forbid, everything would break. All these kind of make and breaks of all your custom structs would just break down. It was very frustrating. And that's gotten a lot better from what I can see, but, instead I made a lot of helper functions, and I think it just looks better. It's just a blueprint function library that's part of the system, and we can just do things like that. But feel free to use breaks, it would work the exact same way. Okay, and we're going to need a local variable here. So let's just make okay, and we're going to add each item that is equipped is going to add to this local variable called local weight until we have the total weight of all the items on the character. So first of all, that's not what I wanted. We go through each item that's on the player. Second of all, we find the weight of each item. And finally, we add the weight. Okay, so this function should be returning the total weight. And there it is. Just like that. Okay, so if we go back to our event graph and we use calculate weight, we don't need to do it all the time. We only need to do it when something in the equipment slots change. We won't want to call something like that on tick because, we're iterating through an array and that would slow down performance. So it's very important that, and it's important we do it on the server. We wouldn't be checking something like this on the client because, we want to avoid any opportunities to cheat. But we're going to calculate the weight of all the items on the player. And then what are we going to do with it? Well, we're actually, for this example, we're going to have a very simple interaction where the more weight you're carrying, the slower you are. So for that, we need a few public variables. And we're going to call this max speed, and I don't know what's appropriate. We'll make ourselves a little bit fast, shall we? And we should set on begin play for our, max speed too. I'm just going to quickly do that. That would be nicer. So, I mean, max speed we can get because it's whatever's set at the start from the capsule component. We can get max speed, which is a function of character movement, and we can set it there. And you know what? Let's just give that a bit more of a unique name. Okay. We'll just make a new category there. Okay. And then we'll make another variable and call it my weight. Now, this currently isn't being replicated, and that's a problem because this is happening on the server. It's very important that that we replicate that down to the clients. So what we can do is we can set up a rep notify to when that gets changed. It's going to send it to all the clients, and we're going to change our weight, which also creates a function that will fire whenever it changes. That's going to be really handy right now, because now that our weight's changed, we need to set up some sort of interaction, and in this case, the interaction that we're setting up is we're going to be affecting the player's walk speed as he, picks up these items and becomes slower. So to do that, we'll just make up some arbitrary numbers and make that work. So let's just, I don't know, how much can someone carry? This could be binded to strength or something, but let's just call it 60. And then that means, and we'll clamp that at 1, which means if we carry over 60, it's as bad as carrying 60, which we want the player to be completely stopped at. We'll grab, that's very naughty, not putting it in the right category. Okay, my max speed. We're going to grab my max speed, and this is actually inversed at the moment from what we want. So now, if we've got 60 kilos on us, this value will return 0. If we have no weight on us, it will return 1. So now we can times the float by that, creating a relationship where the more weight we have, the slower we're going to go. And the way we're going to set that up is we're going to grab the capsule movement component, and we're going to set max speed, max walk speed, to whatever this equals. So now we have a simple encumbrance system just like that. Not very hard at all. So this function will change whenever our weight changes, which will then, this command will execute on every single client. So that's quite handy. So that would be great to test. But we need a heavy item, because right now all the items in the game, they have they have -1 weight actually, because it's not something that I wanted to leave it there as an example, but I didn't really want to integrate it into everyone's game, because some people really don't want weight-based inventory systems. You know, speaking personally, I always get really frustrated with that in games. But using the attributes editor, and remembering that attributes are unique per item. So these cowboy boots could be the base class, but we can create so many variations of those boots through attributes. I'm going to add, I don't know, how heavy are we going to make them? Let's make them 50 so we can really test the system. They won't stop us in our tracks, but they should slow us down a fair bit. And hopefully everything's going to work. Okay, there we go. Really slow and heavy boots. Okay, let's take them off. And I'm back to my normal speed. Can maybe put them on while I'm running? No. Yes, I can. Okay. Just as simple as that. So you can see how instead of using weight, we could have used intelligence or strength or any other modifier, and set up a system that these items would be affecting us in a gameplay way. And that's all there is to it. Thank you very much. I hope that tutorial was helpful. If there are any questions, please message me on the forum. I know it was a long tutorial covering a lot of different elements of the system, so please do ask any questions if you have them. Okay, goodbye.